So to help us explore the key concepts of the service desk, let's first consider the purpose of the service desk. And that is to capture demand for incident resolution and service requests. No matter how good our services are, things do break, and we need to be able to have the ability to detect that and respond to it when that happens as quickly as possible. So we need to establish a way to capture that demand and be able to resolve those incidents. But it's also a way of meeting the demand for service requests. So whenever a user requests a new service or a service that exists that they want to get access to, Service Desk is a great way to meet the demand for those requests, to be able to process those requests. But very important, the Service Desk is a single point of contact between the service provider and its users. What we don't want is for users to have to worry about who they're going to call if something happens. So if it's one type of incident, call this number. If it's another kind of incident, call that number. They're already stressed enough because the incident has happened. We don't want to add to that stress by making them think about which number do I call. So Service Desk is a single point of contact. It is the group that we turn to when something goes wrong or when we need something from the service provider. In the foundation course, we covered the 4 dimensions of service management. Here they are down the left-hand side of the table. I'm not going to cover them all in detail. But in the service desk practice, we see examples of how each of the 4 dimensions exist within the service desk. So for example, on organizations and people, that takes the form of a dedicated team. Service desk is always a dedicated team of people. You know who they are and you know where they are, either virtually or physically, and you know how to get hold of them. From an information and technology point of view, we often have a system which is used by the service desk that is often called the service desk system. And that may form part of a larger service management tool set, but typically it's there at the service desk, and the service desk agents or analysts have access to that system. When it comes to value streams and processes, there are specific workflows and procedures for how we communicate with users in different scenarios. Those are included in the practice. And when it comes to partners and suppliers, we often see organizations outsource their service desk to a supplier, and we will find the supplier becomes or provides the service desk team that enables us to report incidents and get our service requests fulfilled. There is a difference between the practice and the team, and it's important in this course not to get the two confused. This course is about the service desk practice. It is not about the team. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment, but first, let's just talk about the practice. So the practice is about how we establish and maintain communication channels, and it's about how we manage the interfaces between the service provider and the users. So it's the way in which we do things. It's about the procedures that are used. It is about the actual communication that happens with our users, and it is about how we track the communication that we have between the service provider and our users. And we do that because we don't want to, every time a user picks up the phone or sends us an email or gets on that self-help page, we don't want to have to start again every single time. So it's important that we know what has been communicated, to whom and when, and to be able to track that. So that's what the practice is about. The team is the group of people, and it's about all of the techniques and methods that we use to manage that team of people, and especially that team of people is involved in handling incidents. Now, incident management is its own practice. So we'll see that the service desk team is actually involved in several practices. Service request fulfillment is another one, but the service desk practice is specifically related to the way in which the service desk team communicates. So other practices that the service desk team is involved with is monitoring and event management, There may be some part of IT operations that the service desk is responsible for. They may issue satisfaction surveys. They may be involved in awareness campaigns. For example, a new feature of a service has been released and we want people to be aware of that and start using it. We can use the service desk to help communicate that. And then, of course, service request processing and fulfillment. There are many other activities, but the service desk team is involved in communicating with users in those activities very often. And it is the communication with users that is covered in the service desk practice.